They can take our lives, but they can never take our freedom. That was a line from 25 years ago this week. Braveheart. Stirring words. Clearly they gave an emotional energy to national pride and to nationalism. Complete nonsense, of course. If we're all dead, in what way is that freedom? It was not historical. And as Mel Gibson said, I'm in the business of cinema. I'm not an effing historian. It was designed to entertain, not to educate. In true swaggering Trump-like bravura, he went on to say, history isn't always true. The toe-curling absurdity of that statement made me laugh, until I read to the end of the quote. History is written by the winners, obviously. In history, if you lose, your story dies with you, and a true and factual balanced account will not be told for succeeding generations. I was reminded of that a few months ago when listening to a BBC Radio 4 discussion. It was about the history of India. An Indian had written about his country's experience under the British Empire. My boyhood impression of all these countries coloured red on the map was that we had been a benevolent and just power, bringing civilization to a divided and primitive people. We built railways, we gave them a civil service and a judicial system, good government, education, and they really should be grateful. Much of that is true, but Britain drew enormous wealth out of the subcontinent, one that was rich in history, culture and raw materials. And there was a dark side of ruthless oppression, exploitation, arrogant hypocrisy that gave the colour red on an empire map a bitter alternative significance. The same principle holds for Old Testament history. There are a number of examples where the historian wants his readers to think that mass extermination and genocide of neighbouring peoples was a response to direct divine instruction. Some God. And we don't hear their side of the story. The New Testament is, of course, the same. We have hints of various and differing strands of belief and practice in the early church, even as early as the book of Acts, and also in later theological development. Jesus was first known as a godly man, a rabbi, a prophet of God. His death was the martyrdom of a troublesome rabbi. Or he is a lot more than that, a son of God, and that becomes the Son of God. His death a blood sacrifice, somehow paying for my sin. Or was it about defeating Satan, the great prince of darkness? The significance of his life was all about his death. Many have been conditioned to think that sin is the basic problem, or that somehow my sin put Jesus on the cross, that he is there instead of me, or that salvation is all about getting to heaven, achieving a joyous afterlife instead of suffering the deserved eternal torture of hell. Or indeed, was his sublime and inspiring moral teaching about justice, compassion and forgiveness, is that the point of it all? Those parables and that mountainous sermon. And we should be living a Jesus-shaped life based on that. You see, it's not just history that's written by the victors. It's theology too. And much of that has been added over the years, and some of it not much more ago than a century. Victorian times. Unlike almost everybody I knew who saw the film, and despite its 5 Oscars, I never did like Braveheart. To me it was cowboys in kilts, a slash and burn action movie that portrayed a complex historical situation in distorted, emotional and simplistic terms. He made it up for entertainment. He's more Dan Brown than Jon Snow. But I have no quibble with that, as long as we get the historical disclaimer in first. And that's true also of a lot of doctrine and teaching that has been passed down to us as Christian truth. What you need to believe in order to be a Christian. But to paraphrase Gibson, theology isn't always true. The truth is much better than that, and simpler. Follow me, the man said. End of.